welcome back everybody. Again we will continue with our discussions on application of the first law to steady state devices. We have talked about nozzles and diffusers, we have talked about turbines and compressors. Today we will talk about another device in this lecture, which is throttling device. So, number 3 is throttling device. So, what is a throttling device? So, it typically whenever you want in a flow, whenever you want a large pressure drop within a very small region, you use a throttling device, right. So, these are used in refrigerators, all refrigerators, that is household refrigerators as well as in industrial scale refrigerators. In fact, here also the refrigeration system that we are using, it uses a throttling device. Okay. So, again I will repeat, what you do is you have to wherever you want a large drop in pressure and temperature. So, you will see that associated with the drop in pressure there is always a drop in temperature as well. So, there is a if we want a large drop in pressure and temperature within a small distance, we or in a confined space, we use throttling devices, and we will see that because of that there is a large increase in volume. So, an example, a very crude example of a throttling device is something like this. You can think of like you can have a channel, right, a channel, and this part this part can be vacuum, and this part you can fill in with some gas, maybe some refrigerant, or maybe you can some refrigerant maybe, or maybe water, and then you can put a small hole through this boundary, and what that will do is this gas or whatever fluid is here, it will just leak into this side through this small gap, and in the process, because here you have relatively low pressure, if you have vacuum you have zero pressure initially. Even if you can't maintain vacuum, you can keep this side at very low pressure, and because the pressure is very low, this fluid quickly expands, and in the process the temperature and pressure both fall rapidly. Okay. So, this is how you can achieve in principle a throttling process, okay, or you can realize a throttling process. Some examples of throttling processes are like, so there are various kinds of throttling devices available. One device which you might be able to see in older refrigerators is something like a capillary tube. So, you have you might have seen that there are these there can be this kind of long winding tubes towards the bottom of your of your refrigeration systems, and these capillary tubes they are very thin, and what happens is the fluid speeds up when it enters the refrigerant. So, this is a capillary tube, let me write it down, capillary tube. So, because this has very small cross section, when fluid enters from this side, refrigerant enters from this side into the capillary tube, it speeds up, and in the process there is a large pressure drop. Number one. Number two, because these capillary tubes are extremely small, the viscous resistance that the refrigerant will face will also be relatively high. So, because of the viscous resistance as well, there is a large pressure drop. Okay. So, for both of these reasons, there is a large pressure drop when the fluid comes out of the capillary tube. At the exit, the pressure of this fluid here will be much smaller as compared to the fluid that is at the inlet. Okay. So, this is, you can think of it as exit, and think of it as inlet. Okay. There are other kinds of throttling devices as well. What we will take is, we will consider a very simple example, we will not consider capillary tubes like this. So, we will consider a throttling device of this kind of a schematic. So, we will say, okay, let me draw this. something like that. Okay. So, you might have a pipe, maybe I can draw the pipe to be slightly larger. Okay. You can have a pipe, in between you can have a valve which you can open or close, and in this what happens is this rotating this knob, it opens up a hole in the middle, it either makes it bigger or smaller, right. So, essentially this is the same thing as what is happening here. This is just a more sophisticated, a more controllable version of this what we discussed here. Okay. So, by rotating this valve, you can or by controlling the opening of this valve, you can control the throttling process, the mass flow rate and the throttling process. Okay. So, this is what we'll assume. So, we'll assume that this is the throttling device, where you basically have a valve and you rotate the valve to either make the a hole like this, which exists here somewhere here in the middle, it makes it either smaller or bigger. Okay. So, you either close the hole completely to stop the flow, or you can open it slightly to start and continue the throttling process. Okay. So, then let us what we will do is, again we will assume that this is a steady state operation. That means, I can take this as my control volume, and we will assume that this is a steady state process. So, steady. So, we will assume that this valve has been opened for a long time and the throttling process is going on for sufficiently long, so that steady state conditions have been imposed or have been reached, and conditions at any given point is not changing with time. Okay. Right. So, this is a steady state device. So, there is, I can say that this is inlet, this is outlet, there is some fluid flowing in, this is some fluid flowing out, steady, and then of course, there is no heat transfer. So, no heat transfer, rather I should write Q equal to 0, QCV equal to 0. You can understand that, if this pipe is, if this the surface area of this entire thing is small enough, then there will be negligible heat transfer between the surroundings and the throttling device, and also throttling devices are usually well insulated, so that the heat transfer is minimized. At the same time, you can understand that this control volume is not doing any work on anything. Okay. The steady state device, you are not changing the opening, you are not rotating the valve, you are not changing inlet conditions or the outlet conditions, this is not expanding, there is no shaft rotating. So, W dot CV, the non flow work, is absolutely 0. Okay. Okay. So, right, so this is absolutely 0. Okay. So, then okay. So, that's the crux of it. Let us try to apply first law and first law and conservation of mass to this throttling device. So, mass balance will first apply. So, mass balance will be Mi dot is equal to Me dot is equal to M dot. I can just call the mass flow rate to be M dot. Okay. So, the mass flow rate that is coming out of the device is M dot, and same mass is entering the device here, M dot. First law. So, let us apply first law, again steady state. So, Q dot CV minus W dot CV plus M dot I HI plus half Vi square plus GZI minus M dot E HE plus half VE square plus GZE is equal to 0. So, again we will do the same, will apply the same assumption or same same we'll consider the same paradigm as we considered for compressors and turbines. We'll say that changes in potential energies are negligible, these are negligible. So, here they will be exactly 0, but they are negligible. So, delta P E negligible. Okay. Similarly, we will also say that the changes in kinetic energies are also negligible. So, delta K E also negligible as compared to H, if you compare to enthalpy or maybe enthalpy. If you compare to enthalpy, remember not change in enthalpy, I am now comparing the delta K E directly to the enthalpy value, the absolute value of enthalpy, not the change. We'll see why quickly, but you can say that these values, the velocity, the kinetic energy is negligible as compared to enthalpy, potential energy is negligible, it is 0, absolutely 0 change in potential energy here anyway. So, I can neglect these two terms, just drop out these two terms. I have seen that Q dot C V is equal to 0, no work, no heat transfer to the device, the work input or output coming out of the device is also 0, this is non flow work of course, coming out of the device is also 0, which leaves us with what? Let us see what does that leave us with. So, these are all dropped, kinetic energy, potential energy terms are all dropped, heat transfer, work transfer is dropped. So, I finally get H I is equal to H E. That is an amazing conclusion. What I am saying is that the enthalpy at the inlet and the enthalpy at the outlet does not change. So, the enthalpy of the outflow fluid, it can be a gas or a gas liquid mixture, and the enthalpy of the incoming fluid, it can be, typically it is a compressed fluid, or it can also be in other states. So, the enthalpy of the incoming fluid is the same as the enthalpy of the outgoing fluid. Okay, that is an amazing conclusion, but at the same time what happens is the pressure and temperature drops. Okay. So, if you are surprised how can enthalpy remain constant, but pressure and temperature can drop, you should, what you should realize is that this H I you can write as U I plus P I small v I is equal to U E plus P E small v E. So, what is happening is, because of a drop in pressure and temperature, internal energy will typically drop because of the drop in temperature. Okay. Internal energy will drop, pressure will drop. So, pressure at the exit will be lower, pressure at internal energy at the exit will be lower, but volume will increase substantially, right. So, this loss of internal energy and pressure is being compensated by the increase in volume. That is what is happening, which is keeping the entire enthalpy constant. The total enthalpy is remaining constant. Okay. That is what is happening here. So, this is the throttling process. So, you can understand why this is used. This is used to cool down gases, right. So, because there is a large drop in temperature, you can cool down a gas or a vapor or any fluid within a very short span of distance using this device, okay, which is why it is used in various refrigeration systems. So, if the throttling process is quasi equilibrium, so if quasi equilibrium, that means if this entire throttling process that I have shown here, if this happens in a quasi equilibrium manner, then that means at every stage of the process, everywhere inside this device, the substance, the fluid is either in equilibrium or the deviation from equilibrium state is minimal, is infinitesimally small. If that is the case, then this process will be a, or this the particular instance of flow that we are considering will be a quasi equilibrium process, and in that case we will say that and in that case this is referred to as isenthalpic process. Isenthalpic process, because at any point in the process the enthalpy of the fluid is not changing. You can see that enthalpy at the inlet and exit does not change, they are the same, and if it is if the process is quasi equilibrium throughout, the enthalpy will remain constant throughout. Okay. So, this will be called an isenthalpic process if this were a quasi equilibrium process, but usually throttling processes are highly non equilibrium processes, which is why they are rarely isenthalpic. They cannot be really quantified as or qualified as isenthalpic process, but if they were a quasi equilibrium they would be called isenthalpic processes, so that the enthalpy remains constant throughout the process. Okay. Right. So, I will just take a moment here to show you the process on a TV diagram. So, let us draw a temperature volume diagram. So, on a TV diagram this is the vapor dome, and what you do is you typically start from here at the inlet. This is the inlet. So, if you consider, let me go back for a moment to this thing. If you consider a parcel of fluid, a small parcel of fluid like this, maybe this small parcel of fluid that is entering the control volume, and then this same parcel is travelling throughout, it might be travelling like this, and this same parcel might be going out at this location after some point of time. This is just a parcel of fluid, okay, parcel of liquid or parcel of gas or whatever it is, or it can be mixture. So, imagine this parcel of fluid. So, it is entering at state I, coming out at state E. Okay. So, this is, if I come back to this figure now, this is state I, and you see that it is coming out in such a way that its enthalpy at state E will remain the same as enthalpy in state I. So, I will have to draw isenthalpic lines on this curve, on this plane rather, and well, and the exit point will lie on the isenthalpic curve that goes through I. Okay. So, what actually happens is, as I said, the volume increases significantly and the temperature drops significantly. So, the process goes something like this. So, this is how isenthalpic lines will look like on a temperature volume diagram, and so this is the exit point, and you can see that the specific volume has increased significantly, the temperature has dropped significantly. Okay. It is customary to represent throttling processes on something called a temperature entropy diagram, which we will talk about when we talk about second law, but roughly speaking on a temperature volume diagram also you can represent this. Okay. Similarly, you can also, so you can think about how it might look like on a pressure volume diagram. Okay. I will not tell you that. So, you can see that there is a large drop in temperature, right, there is a large drop in temperature, temperature is going down, which is why you use it for refrigeration purposes. The another thing I would like to discuss here is that Joule-Thomson expansion coefficient, Joule-Thomson coefficient, not expansion, Joule-Thomson coefficient, and it is defined as mu j is equal to del T del P at H. So, rate of change of temperature with pressure at constant enthalpy, that is how we define Joule-Thomson coefficient. We will not discuss too much about it. Just one quick thing to note why I say this, you see that this is positive. So, Joule-Thomson coefficient will be positive for a throttling process. You can see that, because you can see we said that in a throttling process there is a drop in temperature and there is a drop in pressure. So, both delta T and delta P will be negative, which means this will be positive, right. But what is Joule-Thomson coefficient for an ideal gas? So, for an ideal gas, mu j is equal to 0, because you see, because Joule-Thomson coefficient is by default defined for a isenthalpic process. This coefficient is defined at constant enthalpy. If enthalpy does not change for an ideal gas, temperature will not change, right, because for an ideal gas we know that enthalpy is a function of temperature only. So, if Hi is equal to He for an ideal gas, Ti will be equal to Te, there is nothing else to discuss, right, which means that for an ideal gas there will be no change in temperature. So, for an ideal gas delta T will be 0, there will be no fall in temperature. In fact, for an ideal gas the isenthalpic lines and isotherms are the same. Okay. So, isotherms and on this graph TV diagram, isotherms look like this, these are isotherms, but isenthalpic lines look something like this. Do not worry too much about the slopes, schematically this is how they look like qualitatively speaking, but for ideal gases isotherms and isenthalpic lines both are horizontal, which means there will be no change in temperature. Okay. And which is why for ideal gases Joule Thomson coefficient is 0. So, there will be no drop in temperature, there might be a drop in pressure, that is true, but volume will change accordingly to compensate for that, okay, to compensate for the change in pressure. So, so for an ideal gas delta T is 0, there will be no drop in temperature in a throttling process for an ideal gas, okay, in a throttle. So, let me write that down here. So, in throttling. So, now I would ask you that do you feel lucky that we are not surrounded by ideal gases? If we were surrounded by ideal gases, we would never be able to use throttling to achieve refrigeration. We use this process for in refrigerators, in every refrigerator, in household refrigerators as well. We will never be able to do that if delta T, if the substance we were using was ideal gas. Okay. Just because the refrigerants are not ideal gases, we have positive Joule Thomson coefficient, which is why we are able to achieve a drop in temperature upon throttling, which helps us in refrigeration. Okay. Okay. So, let us end here today. Thank you.